Good morning, everybody. Namaskar. This is Engineer Suraj Singh speaking from Bharat, India, on this day, November 8th, 2021, Monday. This is around 3:40 a.m. Talk is same with different character, and that is quality and safety, health, environment, and life of people, impact on life of people by good or bad engineering which is an integrated part of life in this era. Topic is, as usual, engineering related to quality and quality related to engineering. Utmost important quality which has been neglected, that is to be deliberated, how to bring it back, how to think on quality production, how to think of contracts which are, you can say, like platform for understanding how to work, because without contracts virtually works cannot be done virtually, otherwise it can be done. Issue of designs, issue of construction, issue of what methods we have to use, and we can say contracts, and of course particular issues of communications and coordinations. Everyday talking indicates that information with people is not complete. If information is not complete, you can say knowledge does not reach people. Dissemination of information is very important. सूचनाएं, जिस चीज़ की आवश्यकता है, जो सूचना की आवश्यकता है काम करने के लिए, वो सूचना अगर जो लोग काम करते हैं उन तक नहीं पहुंचती है तो वो काम सही कैसे करेंगे जो सूचना में दिया है। गुणवत्ता, जिसको हम इंग्लिश में क्वालिटी कहते हैं, सुरक्षा जिसको हम सेफ्टी भी कहते हैं, बचाव भी कहते हैं दुर्घटनाओं से, अच्छा स्वास्थ्य भी होना चाहिए और वातावरण भी अच्छा होना चाहिए। चाहिए चाहिए चाहिए, हम बहुत आदर्शवादी बातें करते हैं। टॉकिंग आइडियलिस्टिकली does not mean anything if you don't implement it, and implementation can be effected only when we have right approach, right information, enough time, we have enough resources to carry out something which is required to be done. And if we are short of either of these, it affects our performance, and performance is very significant on whatever work we do. Performance itself should be constructive rather than ignorable or destructive. Everybody can perform, there is no doubt. Will is required, commitment is required, dedication is required, and focus is required. When I say focus, it means not one focus. Focus is different always at different times. Today what focus you have, it does not mean that that focus continues forever. It can be changed depending on time, depending on requirement, depending on how much you can go with that. Focus is to be decided by everybody. What focus you should have, what point of destination you should have. Focus means Either it is destination or it is intermediate point or intermediate station that goes of that vehicle which runs you to destination. Destination of life nobody knows. Destination of what shall happen tomorrow nobody knows. But we know what is happening today, what happened in past. Past is a confirmed record. It's history. इतिहास है जो बीत गया. जो आने वाला है, कल क्या होगा, इतने समय बाद क्या होगा, ये कोई नहीं जानता. असेसमेंट दूसरी बात होती है, फोरकास्ट दूसरी बात होती है. लेकिन जो सामने है वो आज है, प्रेजेंट है. जो पीछे गया वो हमारी हिस्ट्री है, वो हमारा टीचर बन सकता है, अध्यापक बन सकता है. पास्ट कैन टीच अस, पास्ट कैन रिमाइंड अस, पास्ट कैन गिव अस क्लूज, एंड पास्ट कैन से यू रीड मी if my records are available. You read me does not mean only read it, but understand me, analyze me, think what I did, why I did. While present is seen going on, every second in present becomes every second in past immediately. And what goes in past, it cannot be changed. Present can be understood, changes can be applied in present. Nobody can say we cannot modify what we have decided. Decision is also a kind of a modification, and decisions cannot be changed or can be changed. There are both situations. It depends upon requirements. निर्भर करता है आपकी आवश्यकताएं क्या हैं, आज से पहले आपकी आवश्यकताएं क्या थी, आज आपकी आवश्यकताएं क्या हैं, आने वाले समय में क्या होंगी. Past, present and future run together in our thoughts, and those must be having certain degree of efficacy. If our thoughts are not constructive, if our thoughts cannot move us or me or you, these thoughts are only then novelistic. And we do not want to read novels on poetry for development. As I always claim and understand that engineering is a world of facts. Medical science is a world of facts. We cannot say that engineering is imaginary. Engineering is hypothetical or speculative. It may be hypothetical or speculative for purpose of weaving it. What we can do, that weaving we call vision. दृष्टिकोण आपका, aspects, views, and from those equivalent dreams of vision, we try to realize fact by using engineering approach. समय को समझना, समय पर काम करना, जो प्लान बनाया है उसको चलना, उसके लिए रिसोर्सेस इकट्ठा करना, जो भी आवश्यकता है उसको समझ के आगे चलना, ये तभी हो सकता है जब समय की वैल्यू दी जाए. समय किसी के हाथ में नहीं है. Time is never owned by anyone. If I want to waste time, it is very easy. But if I want to use time, it is very difficult. And those persons who use time, who understand value of time, for them even a single minute is very powerful. because even sometimes miracles can be done in a single minute, which cannot be done throughout life. It's because of certain unknown solutions, secret solutions that come into mind. And but these can be delivered to you within minutes. But the formations of these decisions, the solution might have taken years. We have to realize this fact. Engineering is a dominance in our life. It's not because I belong to engineering profession, I claim that. I'm not claiming anything. Because claiming is no answer. Why should I claim when something exists? There should be no meaning of any claim because it exists. Why should I worry about that? One should be clear about engineering that when we talk of engineering, we talk of real life. We do not talk of, hypothesis. We do not imagine. Engineering does not have any value in imagination except in designs. Imagination means pre-design world. That is engineering. These facts must be understood. If we have understanding of these facts, we can move ahead. Engineering makes our life. That is true. Without life is made, we cannot think of further improvement. Life, you can say, relates to engineering, and engineering relates to development, and develop is a building up. And in every step, quality is important. We all are practical people, practical in a sense that our activities must produce something. We cannot produce something or do something for our happiness. It is happiness of society. It is happiness of world. And happiness doesn't mean that we should laugh or smile. Happiness means life should move with more and more achievements of technology. Just like you can say there was a time when the radio transistors were limited. People enjoyed them. That was only a source of entertainment. And now is a time when you can say mobile has become a part of life. Mobile use has become integrated part of life, but it is not essential that this shall continue forever. Contracts. Contracts means what? As we said, as we discussed, no contracts cannot help us. If we are smart people, we can go ahead without contracts if we are smart. But because construction is a word of specialization, construction is a world of hard activities. Construction is a world where whole life earnings are spent. Construction means permanence. Construction term itself is an indication that permanent works means works that shall remain there for decades to come. Not for 1 day, 2 day, 1 month, 2 months, or 3 months, or 1 year or 2 years. It is like your kids, which means that what level of care is required to be taken for those kids, we know it's very important mentally and emotionally. We are not here for emotional consideration. We are here for work consideration. When we talk of works, this means we talk of all activities which are planned or which requires occasional planning, casual planning, instant planning. These activities cannot be done on their own without understanding respective requirements. Requirement is very common word in engineering, in construction, in contracts, on contracts, for contracts. And contracts is very powerful document in world of construction, in world of engineering, and also in words, you can say, in life. Millions of contracts are done a day throughout world. These are facts. But how many contracts are effective for construction world? Very few. You can count them. Maybe few hundreds, few thousands every day, which can be called construction contracts. We have discussed that primarily construction contracts means only for construction, or it can be for designs and construction. These are two primary, When we discussed about red type of contract, a red book contract, which is only for construction, where design is provided by employer through engineer, and the other one is EPC that we are talking now, that is engineering, procurement and construction, where design also is given to contractor and construct later on once design is agreed or approved upon. This means EPC is higher, because design is also contractor's responsibility. When you design yourself, means you must have thorough knowledge of design. Design cannot be done without knowledge, theoretical knowledge as well as practical knowledge. Theoretical knowledge is not enough. In fact, it is nothing if we have only theoretical knowledge. We cannot take even design decisions, because one should have input from practical life, and that is sight. If I don't understand activities, what problems we face on activities, how do these activities move, how much efforts are wasted, and how many percents of efforts are successful, how we have to see work is done, and how workers handle work, what is problems in procurement, all miscellaneous issues that we handle on works must be taken care while we either draw contract or we implement or execute contract. Our projects run for years. This means our contracts that we agree upon also run for years. Run for years in the means that these remain in force for duration of contract. And duration of contract is decided by owner or decided by circumstances, and that is always fixed. And whatever quantum of work we leave in that period, our program is based upon that. As I always stress quality, my stress inclusion of quality speaks that quantity exists, of course, that's why quality is discussed. Quality is life, quality is, vibration of a project. Quality is soul of a project, of a product. And I feel it mentally that quality is not valued to that level. Quality is actually not understood well. Systems do exist, there is no doubt, but there is no meaning of systems if you do not want to understand it analytically. We just cannot stick to guidelines also when we do job, because in addition to those guidelines, we have our own input lines that helps everybody. Workers do not have that level of education, they can understand everything. So our guides or our rules stay to those people who have to use these workers for work. Using potential is not easy. We have to understand what we have to do. When I talk of EPC, I talk of who shall control EPC on site. It is senior personnel who have plenty of experience and plenty of knowledge, theoretical knowledge and practical knowledge, who have gone through works themselves. And if they have not gone through works, you can't expect them at that moment without experience when they think of the takeoff. Experience means more than theoretical knowledge. Application of theoretical knowledge is also affected. You have to make sure in that case whatever you studied that must be confirmed. आप जो काम करते हैं वो आपकी थ्योरी के बेस पे होता है. जो भी आप सोचते हैं इंजीनियरिंग में, उसके पीछे कोई ना कोई डिज़ाइन, कोई फार्मूला, कोई मेथड वगैरह वगैरह होते हैं. तजर्बा या एक्सपीरियंस या अनुभव इंजीनियरिंग में बहुत ऊंचा वैल्यू रखता है. जो आप स्कूल कॉलेज में नहीं सीख पाए वो आप वर्क्स फील्ड में सीखते हैं। किसी भी इंजीनियरिंग में हो आप, वर्क सीखना, करना, उसके ऊपर और काम करना, यही इंजीनियरिंग की रूट है। बिना सीखे हम कितने भी ऊंची शिक्षा लेके क्यों ना आए, हम आगे नहीं बढ़ सकते। क्योंकि इंजीनियरिंग खाली डिज़ाइंस नहीं है, डिज़ाइंस एक इंजीनियरिंग का हिस्सा है, सब कुछ नहीं है। ये बात लाइफ में बाकी वस्तुओं पे भी लागू होती है। डिज़ाइन कैसा है जी इसका, क्वेश्चन आ जाता है। कस्टमाइजेशन है, जनरल डिज़ाइन है, क्वेश्चन आ जाता है। इसलिए डिज़ाइन एक वो स्टेज है जो करने के डिसीजन लेने से पहले तक होती है, उसके बाद बात करने की आती है उसको। हमने फैक्ट्री, इंडस्ट्री जितने भी प्रोडक्शन दे रहे हैं, कहीं ना कहीं डिज़ाइन उसके पीछे तो है। ये तो नहीं कहा जा सकता कि नहीं। डिज़ाइन बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट होता है, लेकिन डिज़ाइन करने के बाद ये भी इम्पोर्टेंट है कि वो डिज़ाइन को कार्य रूप दिया जाए। दैट डिज़ाइन विच वी हैव प्रोड्यूस्ड, दिस मस्ट बी प्रोड्यूस्ड फिजिकली on sites. But we have a question here. Do we that? We produce this physically on site. Do we think of required quality? People say, yes, we know that. Well, if you know that, that's fine. But if quality of your product must say, yes, it is. Just like you take food in your kitchen, cook it, you don't like it because there's improportion ratio of spices or more oil in that. Despite spending money, you twist your nose from that level of food. Oh no, I don't like it, I can't eat it too like this. People say that sometimes. That's where my question arises. I support people in that case because they raise questions. And engineering means raise questions. If engineer cannot answer, cannot raise questions, that engineer I think is incapable. Because when you go to college for 5 years, you think a joke? No, it's no joke. It's reality of life. वास्तविकता है जीवन की। ये आपको पढ़ना भी होता है। आपके वातावरण में, आपके समाज में आप किस चीज़ से घिरे हैं, वो घेराव से बाहर आना हर एक के बस का बात नहीं है। हमें जानते हैं कि इंजीनियरिंग भी एक विश्व है, वर्ल्ड ऑफ इंजीनियरिंग। इस ऐसा विश्व जिसका कोई एंड नहीं है, कोई उसका ऐसी रास्ता नहीं जहाँ से निकल के वापस आ जाए। इंजीनियरिंग एक वो है, आप कह सकते हैं एक पूजा है, अगर आप सही माने में इंजीनियर हैं। इंजीनियरिंग एज वो वेल्थ है जो दिमाग को फ्यूल देती है। हम जब इंजीनियरिंग को समझ जाते हैं, हम ये नहीं कह सकते हम बहुत बड़े हैं, लेकिन एक विश्वास हमें पैदा होता है। इंजीनियरिंग डेवलप्स ए कॉन्फिडेंस इन आवरसेल्व्स that we have done it or we have used it. We know how to take it further to different levels. ईपीसी कॉन्ट्रैक्ट की बात कर रहे हैं। इस ईपीसी कॉन्ट्रैक्ट जिसमें डिज़ाइन शामिल है, खुद ही सुपरवाइज करना है और खुद ही कंस्ट्रक्शन करनी है, हो सकता है फॉर कंस्ट्रक्शन आई प्रोक्यूर सम सब कॉन्ट्रैक्टर ऑफ दैट स्पेशलाइजेशन. बिकॉज विदाउट स्पेशलाइजेशन, विशेषता के बिना प्रोक्यूरमेंट एंड डिज़ाइंस संभव नहीं. डिज़ाइन करने का मतलब है एक पूरा स्ट्रक्चरल अरेंजमेंट, एम्प्लॉयज़ का, वर्कर्स का, इंजीनियर्स का, क्राफ्ट्स पीपल का, और उसकी कोऑर्डिनेशन. बातें करने से कुछ नहीं होता है. टॉकिंग इज़ नो सॉल्यूशन. We have to implement it. We have to understand it. Talking is always very easy. Everybody can do it. हमें काम कराना है, काम को चेक करना है. On contracts such as silver, which is engineering, procurement and construction, we live for that for whatever time. If we achieve something, we have to keep it up. Selling is something very easy, but building is very difficult. Construction works or EPC works, both are responsibilities of contractors, except that in EPC, design is also equivalent responsibility of contractor. It is very serious issue. Every day you will find some problems, even if contractor hasn't come. When we talk of EPC, we talk of designs and construction, and there should be people on site who have to supervise all activities. वो लोग जिन्होंने साइट पे काम करके चेक करना होता है, वो भी बहुत हाई लेवल के होने चाहिए. इसको हम क्या देते हैं, कॉन्ट्रैक्टर सुपरिंटेंडेंट्स. कॉन्ट्रैक्टर के द्वारा काम को जांच पड़ताल करने वाले लोग, आगे बढ़ाने वाले लोग, सुपरवाइज करने वाले लोग, एग्जीक्यूट करने वाले लोग, वो लोग who will execute and supervise. वो लोग, वो पर्सनल एम्प्लॉयज ऑफ qualified people, they can be called superintendents. Means it's different designation of course, but above this in hierarchy, why should this be other people? Why not to have clear conception about work from commencement of contract and until issue of performance certificate date? Contractor shall provide all necessary superintendents to plan, arrange, direct, manage, inspect, test and monitor executions of works. जब से काम अवार्ड हुआ और जब तक वो वापस होगा कंप्लीशन के बाद, कॉन्ट्रैक्टर की ड्यूटी बनती है कि सारी इंफॉर्मेशन दे. कुछ भी ज़रूरत है उसमें, प्लानिंग करना है, अरेंज करना है, इंतज़ाम. डायरेक्ट्स मीन्स गिव डायरेक्शन एज डायरेक्टर, organize, manage, inspect, test and monitor. Superintendent shall be given by a sufficient number of people who are fluent and have enough knowledge of language for communications. They should have adequate knowledge of operations to be carried out, including method and techniques required. Hazards likely to be encountered and safe execution of works. आखिर मैं क्यों ये बात कर रहा हूँ? क्वेश्चन उठना चाहिए भाई, सुपरिंटेंडेंट इसको हम कहते हैं, तो दूर से आइज रखता है, थोड़ा क्लोज आके नहीं रखता. Responsibility of superintendent are many on sites. To make sure that everything runs according to designs is first responsibility. Whole duration of contract, superintendent's application is a must. They have to coordinate, they have to work, they have to arrange, they have to manage, and then they have to ensure that contract works has been done or works have been done to meet incoming requirements. Superintendent is that part of work which is leader on construction site. And superintendents can be one person or can be group of people. But one person is sufficient, and others can be placed as associates or assistants, or you can say specialized engineers. Contractor's personal मतलब क्या है? Contractor's personal on site in project. We say superintendence was discussed, that is still there, part of head of their site. But others always work for sites, and everybody cannot be in charge. Season that a relation has been reached to make sure that works are done and people are safe in a motivated. When we say superintendents, this means you have to supervise work, you have to do work, you have to check work, and not only work, everything that comes in the way of failure, in the way of success. Contractor's personal, contractors के employees, contractor's personal means key personal, we say key personal. If these are required, and these are required, if is no question, these are required, contractor's person shall be appropriately qualified. Appropriately qualified, not by chance only. They shall be skilled, and skill here means completely that they should know their job, for what these have been employed. Skilled, experienced. Experience is very, very smart issue, and they should be competent in their respective trades or occupations. There should be nothing that they should not have. But some activities are very important which maybe they can't do that. Employers may require contractor to remove or cause to be removed any person, whatever person, whosoever person employed on site, where works go on, including contractors, representative, and key personnel. Contractors representative is very important term here. Contractor cannot remain dedicated to floor forever. Employer may require contractor to remove whosoever on site on behalf of contractor who persist in misconduct. Means there is misconduct, person is incompetent or negligent, or person fails to comply with whatever provision of contract and persist in whatever conduct who is prejudicial to safety, health or environment, or protects environment. Employer may require anyone to go. Misconduct, incompetent, negligent, doesn't care for contract provisions, and you can say safety, health and environment are question mark there, doesn't care for it. And it is evident that if someone is involved in corrupt, fraudulent, collusive or coercive practice, or has been recruited from employer's personnel, which is a breach of contract. We can say that disobedience is not accepted. You cannot have disobedience or lack of knowledge and lack of commitment, and you want to move ahead in forthcoming time, which means it's not going to happen. We have to see that our competent people must be strong enough. Even if they don't have much knowledge, they can learn, and for them it will not take time because of their education level. If appropriate, contractor shall then promptly appoint a suitable replacement if already replaced. In case of replacement of contractor's representative, in case of replacement of key personnel, if key personnel shall apply. In case of replacement of contract's representative, you have to appoint a new one. Now, records, contractor's record. Unless otherwise proposed by contractor, and agreed by employer, In each progress report under progress reports clause. We can start unless otherwise proposed by contractor and agreed by employer. Contractor should include what records. These can be indicated here. Occupation and actual working hours of each class of contractor personnel. Can say occupations and actual working hours of each class of contractor personnel, type and actual working hours of each and contractor's equipment, types of plant installed in permanent works, quantities and types of material used. These sources. Contractor shall at all times take all necessary precautions to prevent unlawful activities. Contractors shall at all times take all necessary precautions to prevent unlawful, riotous, or disorderly conduct by or amongst contractors' personnel, and to avoid and to preserve defects. Key personnel, what they do. If no key personnel are specified in employer's requirements, this clause may not apply, but generally it's not a case. Key personnel are a must even if these are not applied, these are not mentioned. Because who shall do work? Question is that. Contractor shall appoint natural persons named in tender to be positions of key personnel. If no so manned nor so named, if an appointed person fails to act in relevant position of key personnel, contractor shall submit to employer for consent name and particulars of another person. Contractors shall appoint natural persons named in tender to positions of key personnel if not so named. And if an appointed person fails to act in relevant position of key personnel, contractor shall submit employer an alternative for consent. If consent is withheld or subsequently revoked, contractor shall similarly submit name of another line. If consent is withheld, subsequently revoked, contractor shall submit say name and particulars of a suitable replacement for such position. If employer does not respond within 14 days after receiving whatever such submission by giving a notice stating an objection to appointment or such person or replacement reasons, employer shall be deemed to have given employer's consent. Contractor shall not, without employer's prior consent, revoke appointment of key personnel or appoint a replacement unless person is unable to act as a result of death, illness, disability, or resignation, in which case appointment shall be deemed to have been revoked with immediate effect, and an appointment of a replacement shall be treated as a temporary one until employer gives consent to its replacement or another replacement is appointed. A key personnel shall be based on site. It's very important. A key personnel shall based on site where works are executed for whole time that works are executed. If any of key personnel is objected a suitable replacement done. Okay, key personnel shall be fluent in English language or whatever language. Means key personnel shall be based on site and works being executed that will and whole time. If a key personnel be temporarily absent during execution of works, a suitable replacement must be present. Now we reach plant materials and workmanship, which is a kind of backbone of work projects. Materials, marine and knowledge. Plants, materials and workmanship. Plants, materials and workmanship, very important chapter it is for purpose of works that be done. Manner of execution. It says that contractors shall carry out manufacture, supply, installation, testing and commissioning, and of repair of plant, production, manufacture, supply and testing, materials and all other operations and activities during such, I can say. Contractors shall carry out manufacture, supply, installation, testing and commissioning or repair of plant, production, manufacture, supply and testing of materials, and other operations and activities during execution of works. मैन्युफैक्चर करना है, सप्लाई करना है, लगाना है, उसको इंस्टॉल करना है, टेस्टिंग करना है, ये सब काम कॉन्ट्रैक्टर के हैं. मटेरियल लाना है, कहाँ से लाना है, सब अप्रूवल लेनी है, और ये सब सच होते हैं. ये काम कराने के लिए प्लांट भी चाहिए, मटेरियल भी चाहिए, वर्कमैनशिप भी चाहिए, अच्छे पर्सनल भी चाहिए. जैसे हमने पहले कहा, सबसे ऊंचे लेवल के पर्सनल चाहिए जिनको काम आता हो. खाली दिन भर बात करने के लिए नहीं, काम के लिए बैठे हैं आप, समझना तो होगा. We have to understand all these points. It was that activities and works in manner specified in contract. उसी तरह से काम करना होगा जो कॉन्ट्रैक्ट में दिया हुआ है. In a proper workman-like manner and careful manner in accordance with the organized good practice. With properly equipped facilities and non-hazardous materials, expect that lawful activity should go. So we are going to in a manner that proper workman-like manner, careful manner, and with properly equipped facilities and non-hazardous materials, except otherwise specified in the contract. Then you can say samples, because material approval is required, and that's very important part. मेटल तो अप्रूव कराने ही पड़ेंगे, और अप्रूव करा कर ही आप लगा सकते हैं, वैसे नहीं लगा सकते. कॉन्ट्रैक्ट से ही होता है. सैम्पल्स आपको देने होंगे. Contractor shall submit samples of materials, and also along with samples complete information has to be provided to employer for consent prior to use of materials. What we can use, form we can fill, then we can say samples of materials, and also additional samples if required by engineer, which can be variations if means for whatever reason. Additional samples instructed by employer as a variation, and each sample be labeled as origin and intended use on works, and that's a part of form. Inspections. Employer's personnel shall during all normal working hours stated in contract data and all other reasonable times have full access to parts of site and to all places from which natural materials are being imported. Now, inspection means that employer's personnel shall have full access to all parts of site and to all places from which natural materials are being obtained. It can be overseas also. During production, manufacture and construction, all at site and extent specified in employer's requirements elsewhere, shall be entitled to examine those, I'm talking of those personnel, employer's personnel, supervising personnel, shall have right to examine, inspect, measure and test to an extent that's given in employer's requirements for materials, plants and workmanship. Check progress of manufacture of plant and production and manufacture materials and make records including photographs and or video recordings. We can start for this purpose into everything, carry out other duties and inspections as specified in these conditions and employer's requirements. वो जो एम्प्लॉयर के पर्सनल हैं उनकी ड्यूटी है आपके कामों को सुपरवाइज करना, देखना कि आपने कैसा काम किया है, गलतियाँ की हैं कि नहीं की हैं, और उस काम को भी संभालने के लिए आपको एक टेम्पररी काम करना पड़ता है छोटा सा, जिसमें छोटा सा ख्याल रखा जाए। Carry out duties and inspections as specified in these conditions and employers requirements. इंस्पेक्शन सारे करने पड़ेंगे, ड्यूटी है वो, और खाली एम्प्लॉयज़ की लोग करेंगे ज़रूरी नहीं है, आप भी तो कर रहे हैं, ठेकेदार के एम्प्लॉयज़। In respect, as a contractor shall give full opportunity, give employers person full opportunity to carry out these activities, including providing safe access, facilities, permissions and safety equipment. In respect of works which employers personnel are entitled to examine, inspect, measure and or test, contractor shall give a notice to employer for test. Contractor shall give employers personnel full opportunity to carry out these activities, including providing safe access, facilities, permission, and safety equipments. In respect of work which employers' personnel are entitled to examine, inspect, measure, or test, contractor shall give notice to employer whenever materials, plant or work is ready for inspection, and before it is to be covered up, put out of sight, or packaged for storage or transport. Employers' personnel shall then either carry out, examine, carry out examination, inspection, measurement, or testing without unreasonable delay, or employers shall promptly give a notice to contractors that employer personnel do not require to do that. If a contract personnel, if employer gives no such notice, what it says, employer personnel shall then either carry out his examination, inspection, measurement, testing without unreasonable delay, or employer shall promptly give a notice to contractor that employer's personnel do not require to do this. If employer gives no such notice, no such nature, if employer's personnel gives no such notice or no such, employer's personnel do not attend at that time. If employer gives no such notice or employer's personnel do not attend time that is stated in contract's notice, or such time as may be agreed with contractor shall may proceed with the If contractor fails to give notice in accordance with provision, contractor shall, even when required by employer, uncover work and thereafter reinstate and make good all at contract's strike, risk and cost. Testing. Testing by contractor. Testing by contractor. Testing, which is also very important part. Subclause. This subclause shall apply to all tests. जितने भी टेस्ट होने हैं इंस्पेक्शन करने के लिए, कुछ भी करने के लिए, अप्रूवल के लिए, इस सब पे लागू होगा ये टेस्टिंग. टेस्टिंग means it shall apply to all tests after completion. Contractor shall provide all apparatus. Contractors shall provide all apparatus, assistance, documents, other information, temporary supplies of electricity and water, equipment, fuel, consumables, instruments, workers, materials, and suitably qualified, experienced and competent staff. Contractor shall provide all apparatus, assistance, documents, other information, temporary supplies, electricity, water, equipment, fuel, consumables, instruments, versatile materials, and suitably qualified, experienced, and competent staff as necessary to carry out specified tests efficiently and properly. All apparatus, equipment, instruments shall be calibrated in accordance with standards specified in the employer's requirements or defined by applicable laws, and if requested by employer, a contractor shall submit calibration certificates before carrying out test. Contractor shall give a notice to employer stating time and place for specified testing. You say, or you say, employer may under clause 13 variations and adjustments vary location or timing of or details of specified test or instruct contractor to carry out additional tests. If these very additional tests show that tested plant material workmanship is not in accordance with said Contract shall give notice to employer stating time and place of specified testing in plant, material health, the plant's works. The notice shall be given in reasonable time in regard to location of testing for employer's personnel. So, employer shall vary location or timing of details of specified tests, instruct contractor to carry out additional tests. If these varied or additional tests show that the tested plant material or occupancy is not in accordance with contractor, cost and delay incurred in carrying out this variation shall also be borne by contractor. Employers shall give a notice to contract of not less than 72 hours. Employers shall give a notice to contractor of not less than 72 hours of employer's intention to attend tests. If employer does not attend test at that time and place stated in contract notice under this subclause, contractor may proceed with tests unless otherwise instructed by employer. These tests shall then be deemed to have been made in employer's presence. If contractor suffers delay and incur cost from complying with any such instruction or as a result of So 72 hours notice is very important. Is employer shall give notice to contractors not less than 72 hours of employer's intention to attend test. If employer does not attend at that time or time and place stated in contractor's notice under this provision, contractor may proceed with tests unless otherwise instructed by employer. These tests shall then be deemed to have been made in employer's presence. 72 घंटे का नोटिस देगा कॉन्ट्रैक्टर को एम्प्लॉयर को कि आइए टेस्ट होने वाला है, आना है तो आप इच्छा है तो आपकी टेस्ट आपने देखना है. अगर किसी भी कारण से नहीं आता है तो कॉन्ट्रैक्टर अपना बात करे, उसके काम पे जाए. These tests shall then be deemed to have been made in employer's presence. If a contractor suffers delay, incur costs from complying with any such instruction or as a result of delay for which employer is responsible, contractor shall be entitled to extension of time and payment. If contractor causes any delay to specified tests and such delay causes employer to incur cost, employer shall then be entitled to payments or contract shall promptly forward to employer duly certified reports of tests when specified tests have been passed. Employer shall endorse contractor's test certificates or issue a test certificate to contractors to that effect. If employer has not attended test, employer shall be deemed to have accepted readings as accurate. Defects and rejection shall apply in event that whatever plant materials and other parts of works fail to pass specified test. Defects and rejection. Defects and rejection if as a result of examination, inspection, measurement or testing, plant or materials, designs or workmanship is found to be defective or otherwise not in accordance with contract, employer shall give a notice to contractor describing item of plant, material and design or workmanship that has been found to be defective. Contract shall then promptly prepare and submit a proposal for necessary remedial work. Employer may review proposal, remedial work, and give notice to contractor stating extent to which proposed work, if carried out, would not result in plant, materials, design, or workmanship complying with contract. After receiving such a notice, contractor shall promptly submit a revised proposal to employer. If employer gives no such notice within 14 days after receiving contractor's proposal, employer may review the proposal, may give notice to contractor stating extent to which proposed work, if carried out, would not result in plant, material, design, workmanship complying with contract. And after receiving such a notice, contractor shall promptly submit a revised proposal to employer. If employer gives no such notice in 14 days after receiving contract's proposal, employer shall be deemed to have given a notice of no objection. If contractor fails to promptly submit a proposal, or a revised proposal for remedial work, or fails to carry out proposed remedial work to which employer has given a notice of no objection, employer may instruct contractor under subparagraph A and B of remedial work. Reject design, plant, material or workmanship given by reject design, plant, materials or workmanship by giving a notice to contractors with reasons in which case failure to remedial work shall apply. After remedying defects in whatever plant, plant materials, designs or Now you see, after remedying defects in plant material designs workmanship, employer requires any such items to be retested. Tests shall be conducted. Testing by contractor at contract's risk and cost. If rejection, retesting cause employer to incur additional cost, employer shall be entitled, subject to claims for payment and duty to payment and for cost by contractor. Remedial work. In addition to any previous examination, inspection, measurement or testing, or test certificate, or notice of no objection by engineer at whatever time we're talking of remedial works here. In addition to whatever previous examination, inspection, measurements or testing, or test certificate or notice of no objection by employer at whatever time before issue of taking or certificate, works of employer may instruct contractor to repair or remedy if necessary off site or remove from site and replace plant or material which are not in accordance with contract. जो भी मटेरियल प्लांट कुछ भी है वो सही नहीं है, ख़राब है या डैमेज्ड है, रिपेयर मांगता है, जो कॉन्ट्रैक्ट के हिसाब से नहीं है उनको रिपेयर करें, हटा लें. In addition to previous examination, inspection, measurement or testing, or test certificate, or notice or no objection by employer at any time before issue of taking or certificate for works, employer may instruct contractor to repair, remedy if necessary off site or remove from site whatever replace that plant or materials which do not comply in accordance with contract. Repair or remedy or remove and re-execute whatever work which is not in accordance with contract. Carry out remedial work, whatever remedial work which is urgently required for safety of works, whether because of an accident, unforeseeable event or otherwise. Contractor shall comply with instruction as soon as practicable and not later than time specified in instruction or immediately if urgency is specified under subparagraph. Contractor shall bear cost of a remedial work required under subclause except to extend that whatever work under Above is attributable to different circumstances, and let's say what? Any act of employer, any act by employer or employer's personal, if contractor suffers delay or incurs cost in carrying out such work, inspection. Quantitably, cost of remedial work required under this clause, except to extend that work under subparagraph is attributable to any act by employer, employer's personal, if contract suffers delay or incurs cost carrying out such work, contractor shall be entitled subject to claims for payment and EOT extension of time or payment of such costs plus. Exceptional event is because the exceptional event has happened, in which case the clause consequences and exceptions shall apply. If contractor fails to comply with employer's instructions, employer may employ and pay other persons. Employer may employ and pay other persons to carry out work, except to extent that contractor would have been entitled to payment for work. Employer shall be entitled, subject to claims for payment or EOT, to payment by contractor all costs arising from this failure. This entitlement shall be without prejudice to whatever other rights employer may have under contract or otherwise. Ownership of plant. Each item of plant and materials shall, to extent consistent with mandatory requirements of laws or laws of country, become property of employer at whichever is earlier of following times and from liens and other encumbrances. When it is delivered to site, when contract is paid value of plant and materials under payment for plant and materials after employer's dedication. Each item of plant matter shall extend consistent mandatory requirements of laws and country become property of employer at whichever is earlier of following times free from liens and other encumbrances. When it's delivered to site, when cart is paid and contract is paid, value of plant and materials under plus payment for plant and materials and yes. Now royalties. Unless otherwise stated in employer's requirements, contractor shall pay all royalties, rents and other payments for natural materials obtained from outside site, disposal of material from demolitions and excavations and of other commencement delays and royalties unless otherwise stated in class requirements. Contract shall pay royalties, rents and other payments for natural materials obtained from outside site, disposal of materials from demolitions and excavations and of other surplus materials, whether natural or man-made, except to extent that disposal areas within site are specified in employer's requirements. Commencement delays and suspension. Very important topic. Very important topic. Commencement delays and suspension. Commencement delays and suspension. Unless commencement delay that is stated in contract, unless commencement date is stated in contract agreement, employer shall give a notice to contractor stating commencement date not less than 14 days before commencement date. Unless commencement date is stated in contract agreement, employer shall give a notice to contractor stating commencement date not less than 14 days before commencement date. Unless commencement date is stated in contract agreement, employer shall give a notice to contractor stating commencement date not less than 14 days before commencement date. Unless otherwise stated in particular condition, commencement date shall be within 42 days after date on which contract comes into force and effect under 7.6 contract agreement. Contractor shall commence execution of works on or as soon as possible unless otherwise stated in particular conditions. Contractor commencement date contractor shall commence execution of works on or as soon as reasonably practicable. Commencement date and shall then proceed with works with due expedition and without delay. Time for completion. काम ख़त्म करना है, उसको कहते हैं कब ख़त्म कर रहे हैं आप, टाइम फॉर कंप्लीशन। और स्टार्ट करने का तो बता दिया आपको, बाकी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटीज सबकी अपने अपने वर्क जाते हैं, कितना कंप्लीशन कराना है, टेस्ट ऑन कंप्लीशन। Now, time for completion. Contractor shall complete whole works and each section within time for completion for works or section including completion of all works which are stated in contract as being required for works or sections to be considered to be completed for purpose of taking over works and sections. Program. Contractor shall submit an initial program. Contractor shall submit initial program for execution of works to employer 28 days after receiving notice under commencement of works. This program shall be prepared using program software stated in employer's requirements, and if not stated, that program is acceptable to employer. unless otherwise stated in particular conditions. Unless otherwise stated in particular conditions, contractor shall also submit a revised program. Unless otherwise stated in particular conditions, contractor shall also submit a revised program which accurately reflects actual progress of works. Unless otherwise stated in particular conditions, contractor shall also submit a revised program which accurately reflects actual progress of works. Whenever program ceases to reflect actual progress or is otherwise inconsistent with contractor's obligations. It means unless otherwise stated particular condition, contractor shall also submit a revised program which accurately reflects actual progress of works. Whenever whatever program ceases to reflect actual progress or is otherwise inconsistent with a contract's obligation. Initial program and each revised program shall be submitted to employer in one paper copy, one electronic copy, and additional paper copies as stated in contract data, and shall include various points we will discuss one by one. प्रोग्राम बहुत आवश्यक, प्रोग्राम कह लीजिए, गैंट चार्ट कह लीजिए, बार चार्ट कह लीजिए, प्रोग्राम मतलब स्कीम आपको कॉन्ट्रैक्टर को देनी होगी, एम्प्लॉयर को हमें ये काम इस हिसाब से करना है, ये हमारे टाइमिंग्स हैं. वो क्या क्या हैं वो बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट है. सॉफ्ट कॉपी, हार्ड कॉपी दोनों सबमिट करनी होंगी. कमेंसमेंट डेट एंड टाइम ऑफ कंप्लीशन, प्राइम चीज़ें, कब स्टार्ट है, कब खत्म है, उससे किस तरह हम बाहर आ गए. Commencement date and completion date, each and every section of works. Date, right of access to and possession of. Date, right of access and possession of. Site is to be given to contractor in accordance with right of access to site. Then कह सकते हैं after that order in which contractor intends to carry out works, वो order including anticipated timings of each stage of design. Each stage of design, that's anticipated time, because design is also a part of this schedule. preparation and submission of contractors' documents, procurement, manufacture, inspection, delivery to site, construction is order in which contractor intends to carry out works, including anticipated timings for each stage of designs, preparations, and submission of contracts documents, procurement, manufacture, inspection, delivery to site, construction, erection, installation, works to be undertaken by every whatever nominated subcontractor as defined in clause nominated subcontractors. We can say testing, commissioning, and trial operation. So major activities that are shown here are very important from this point of view. And these are, what are these? We know as given is only simple guide, that is design, preparation and submission of contractors' documents, procurement, manufacture, inspection, delivery to site, construction, erection, installation, work to be undertaken by nominated subcontractors, testing, commissioning, and trial operation. Review periods under review by employer and period for review for whatever other submissions specified in employer's requirements are required under these conditions. Sequence and timings of inspections and tests specified in are required by contract. If a revised program, for a revised program, sequence and timings of remedial works to which employer has given notice of no objection, that is defects and rejection, and or remedial work instructed under remedial work. All activities to level of detail specified in employer's requirements, logically linked and showing earliest and latest start, and finish dates for each activity, float if it is, and critical paths, dates of all locally recognized days of rest and holiday period, all key deliveries or delivery dates of plant and materials for a revised program for each activity, actual progress to date, and delay to such progress and effect of such delay on other activities. A supporting report which includes description of all major stages of execution of works, description of major stages of execution of works, general description of methods which contractor intends to adopt in execution of works. It says supporting reports are talking execution of works, major stages and methods, general descriptions of methods which contractor intends to adopt in execution of works. Details showing contractor's reasonable estimate of number of each class of contractor's personnel and of each type of contractor's equipment required on site for each major stage of execution of works. If revised program identification of significant changes to previous program submitted by contractor's proposal to overcome effects of such delays on progress of works. These are only very few points. We can add whatever are factual requirements which are pro construction. Now, employer shall review initial program and each revised program submitted by contractor and may give a notice to contractor stating extent to which it does not comply with contract or ceases to reflect actual progress or is otherwise inconsistent with contractor's obligations. If employer gives no such notice within 21 days after receiving initial program or within 14 days after receiving revised program, employer shall be deemed to have given a notice of no objection and initial program or revised program shall be programmed. Contractor shall proceed in accordance with program. Contractor shall proceed in accordance with program subject to contractor's other obligations under contract. Employer's personnel shall be entitled to rely on program when planning their activities. Employer shall be deemed to have given a notice of no objection to initial program or revised program, as case may be, shall be programmed. Contractor shall proceed in accordance with program, subject to contractor's other obligations under contract. Employer's personnel shall be entitled to rely on program when planning their activities. Nothing in program, nothing in whatever program or any or whatever supporting support shall be taken as or relieve contractor from whatever obligation to give a notice under contract shall proceed in accordance with program, subject to contract's other obligations under contract. Employer's person shall be entitled to rely on program when planning their activities. Nothing in any program or any supporting report shall be taken as or relieve contractor from whatever obligation to give a notice under contract. Nothing in such program or whatever supporting report shall be taken as or relieve contractors from whatever obligation to give a notice under contract. At any time, if at any time employer gives a notice to contractor that program fails to extent stated to comply with contract or ceases to reflect actual progress or is otherwise inconsistent with if any time, nothing in this program, you can say, nothing in this program and supporting report shall be taken as a relieve the contractor from any obligation to give notice under contract. It means contractor shall be responsible. Nothing in any case, nothing in any program or any supporting report shall be taken as it shall relieve contractor, no, it shall not relieve contractor from any obligation to give a notice under contract if at any time employer gives a notice to contract that program fails to meet requirements. So what to do in that case? If at any time employer gives a notice to contractor that program fails to comply with contract or ceases to reflect actual progress or is otherwise inconsistent with contractor's obligations, contractor shall give 14 days after receiving this notice submit a revised program to employer in accordance with this subclause. Advance warning. Now, I have to take some time. Advance warning. Each party shall advise other party in advance of whatever known or probable future events or circumstances which may adversely affect work of contractor's personnel, adversely affect performance of works when completed, increase contract price, delay execution of works when Employer may request contractor to submit a proposal under variation by request for proposal to avoid or minimize effects of such circumstances. So there are conditions that affect adverse effect of contractor's personal, adverse effects of performance of works when completed, increase contract price or delay execution of works. Then you can ask for proposal. Employer may request contractor to submit a proposal under variations by request for proposal to avoid or minimize effects of such events or circumstances. Extension of time. Contractor shall be entitled, subject to claims for payment or EOT, that is extension of time, if and to extent that completion for purposes of taking over works and sections is or shall be delayed by following causes, either of following causes: variation, that is, except that there shall be no requirement to comply with a cause of delay, giving an entitlement to EOT under subclause these conditions. Any delay, impediment, or prevention caused by or attributable, hold on please. Any delay, impediment, or prevention caused by attributable delay, impediment, or prevention caused by or attributable to employer's personal or employer's other contractors on site, or any unforeseeable shortage in availability of employer supplied materials whatsoever caused by epidemic or governmental actions. When determining each EOT, when determining when determining each extension of time under claims for payment and or EOT, employer's representative shall review previous determinations under agreement or determination and may increase but shall not decrease total EOT, total extension of time. If a delay caused by a matter which is employer's responsibility is concurrent with a delay caused by a matter which is contractor's responsibility, contractor's entitlement to EOT shall be assessed in accordance with rules and procedures stated in special provisions, and if not stated, as appropriate, taking due regard of all relevant circumstances. Delays caused by authorities. Delays caused by authorities. Contractor has diligently, if contractor has diligently followed procedures laid down by relevant legally constituted public authorities or private utility entities in country, and if these authorities or entities delay or disrupt contractors' work and delay or disruption was unforeseeable, this delay or disruption shall be considered as a cause of delay under extension of time for completion. This is due to authorities. Again I say, if contractor has diligently followed procedures laid down by relevant legally constituted public authorities or private utility entities in country, these authorities or entities delay or disrupt contractor's work, delay or disruption was unforeseeable, this delay or disruption shall be considered as a cause of delay under extension of time for completion. कोई भी ऐसे अधिकारी उस कंट्री के कॉन्ट्रैक्ट के फॉलो करने के बाद, एप्लीकेशन लगाने के बाद, परस्यू करने के बाद, सब कुछ करने के बाद भी अगर देर करते हैं, डिसीजन नहीं देते हैं किसी भी बात पे, किसी भी वजह पे, उससे हमारे प्रोजेक्ट के काम डिले होते हैं कॉन्ट्रैक्टर के, तो उसकी जिम्मेदारी भी एक्सटेंशन की देनी होगी, एम्प्लॉयर देना पड़ेगा, क्योंकि उसमें कॉन्ट्रैक्टर का फॉल्ट नहीं। बाकी दूसरी एक्सटेंशन जो किसी भी वजह से एम्प्लॉयर द्वारा हुई है या कॉन्ट्रैक्टर द्वारा हुई है, अगर वो कॉन्ट्रैक्टर का डिले है तो कॉन्ट्रैक्टर जिम्मेदार है, और अगर एम्प्लॉयर का डिले है तो एम्प्लॉयर को एक्सटेंशन भी देनी होगी। और ये छोटा खेल नहीं है एक्सटेंशन का, क्योंकि इस कॉस्ट पड़ती है। इट रिलेट्स टू लिक्विडेटेड डैमेजेस। एक्सटेंशन मिल जाती है तो एलडी कम हो जाएगी या नहीं लगेगी, लेकिन अगर ईओटी नहीं मिलता है तो एलडी तो काम में आएगी, अपना काम करेगी। इम्पोर्टेंट इशू है, कॉस्ट का फर्क पड़ता है, और वार्निंग एक दूसरे को देते रेट ऑफ प्रोग्रेस, कितनी कितनी काम करने की शक्ति बढ़ी है. इफ एट एनी टाइम actual progress is too slow to complete works or a section of works within relevant time for completion, progress has fallen or shall fall behind program or initial program if it has not yet become program under program clause. किसी भी समय काम की प्रोग्रेस, काम की गति बहुत धीमी चल रही है, जिससे लगता है कि काम समय में पूरा नहीं होगा. ये ऐसा लगे कि प्रोग्रेस गिर चुकी है या गिरेगी और अभी प्रोग्राम नहीं बना है. other than as a result of cause, extension of time for completion, employer may instruct contractor to submit program under program a revised program describing revised methods which contractor proposes to adopt in order to expedite progress and complete works or a section within relevant time for completion. उन केसेस में जब लगता है कि काम होएगा नहीं, सही में नहीं होगा, प्रॉब्लम आ रही है, प्रोग्रेस बहुत ढीली चल रही है, ऐसा लगता है कि डिले होगा ही होगा, उस केस में एम्प्लॉयर कॉन्ट्रैक्टर को कह सकता है भैया आप हमको रिवाइज मेथड दीजिए, रिवाइज प्रोग्राम दीजिए, किस तरह से आप इसी कॉन्ट्रैक्ट डेट में ये काम करके देंगे. उसे बोलते हैं रिवाइज्ड प्रोग्राम और रिवाइज मेथड्स, जिसमें हम तारीख चेंज नहीं करेंगे, डेट चेंज नहीं करेंगे. आपको रिसोर्सेज को बढ़ाना होगा या आपको शिफ्टों को बढ़ाना होगा या आपको कुछ भी करना होगा जिससे आपके काम की गति में तेज़ी आए और आप काम को जो एग्री हुआ है डेट को कंप्लीशन की, उसको देरी से ना दें. Unless employer gives a notice to contractor stating otherwise, contractor shall adopt these revised methods, which may require increases in working hours or in numbers of contractors' personnel and or goods at contractor's risk and cost. If these revised methods cause employer to incur additional costs, employer shall be entitled, subject to claims for payment or EOT, to payment of these costs by contractor in addition to delay damages. Unless employer gives a notice to contractor stating otherwise, contractor shall adopt these revised methods, which may require increases in working hours and or in numbers of contractors' personnel and or goods at contractor's risk and cost. If these revised methods cause employer to incur additional costs, employer shall be entitled, subject to claims for payment and or EOT, to payment of these costs by contractor in addition to delay damages. Under variation by instruction clause shall apply to revised methods, including acceleration measures instructed by employer to reduce delays resulting from causes listed under extension of time for completion. which is actually very strong penalty type, very strong punitive measure on contractor. डिले डैमेजेस, डिले के नुकसान, हालांकि ऐसा होता है कि नुकसान तो भरना आसान नहीं है, लेकिन एक कैप है. If contractor fails to comply with time for completion, employer shall be entitled, subject to claims for payment and or EOT, to payment of delay damages by contractors for this default. Delay damages shall be amount stated in contract data, which be paid for every day which elapsed between relevant time of completion and relevant date of completion of works or section. Total amount due under this provision shall not exceed maximum amount of delay damages if it is mentioned or if it is stated in contract data. These delay damages shall be only damages due from contractor for contractor's failure to comply with time for completion. Other than in the event of termination for contractor's default before completion of works, these delay damages shall not relieve contractor from obligation to complete works or from some other or any other duties, obligations or responsibilities which contractor may have under or in connection with contract. This provision shall not limit contractor's liability for delay damages in any case of fraud, gross negligence, deliberate default or reckless misconduct by contractor. आप समझ गए होंगे डिले डैमेजेस एक लिमिट है, और वो सिर्फ उसी केस में जब एक्सटेंशन ऑफ टाइम नहीं मिल रहा है और आपका काम देर से होने जा रहा है. बाकी डैमेजेस अलग हैं. ये डिले डैमेजेस है जिसको हम आमतौर पे बोलते हैं LD या लिक्विडेटेड डैमेजेस, जिसकी कैप 10% से ज़्यादा नहीं होती है. अगर आपका 1 मिलियन का काम है तो 0.1 मिलियन से ज़्यादा आप डैमेज नहीं क्लेम कर सकते हैं सिविल वर्क्स में, सिविल कॉन्ट्रैक्ट्स में. डिले डैमेजेस एक कॉम्प्लिकेटेड क्लॉज है, इस कॉम्प्लिकेटेड वन. इसमें प्रॉब्लम एक और भी है, वन मोर प्रॉब्लम एग्जिस्ट देयर. यू अप्लाई liquidated damages during currency of contract. If there is delay, you have every right to apply. You have to notify contractor before that, and if contractor doesn't come to line, does not do any action, or doesn't prove that it shall finish job in time within completion date, engineer and employer have every right to start recovering delayed period. This means including punitive measures of LD imposition on running valuations, running payments, provided in case contractor does everything and recovers lost time whatsoever it was successfully within completion period, then whatever recoveries were made on account of delay damages, those shall have to be paid back to contractor. That is principle of this. If it's not possible, then whatever number of days late, that shall be recovered, and not whatever you already recovered. If you have recovered more, means you have to return back that money. So there's a little complication in application of LD, that's liquidated damages. We have to understand this point. First of all, it's not easily impossible, and we should not worry about imposition of that. Imposition should be done. It's duty of imposition, duty of engineer to make sure that undue benefit is not enjoyed by everyone, neither by employer nor by contractor. If there is expected delay, LD must be started. If you think that delay is not extensive, it is recoverable during currency of contract, in that case we can say that okay, let us see this meeting, next meeting or next meeting, what happens. If you see that lost time, there are chances that we can recover lost time gradually. Then it's up to discretion of engineer whether or not to impose starting a position of delay damages, provided or subject to condition. This may be returned back, this may be compensated later on when your recoveries are done. This is very important clause, and certain people have certain confusion about this clause. It's not final penalty, it's a provisional penalty which can be converted to final penalty. Provisional penalty means a kind of warning to contractor. We have started this, and if you are not going to do your job according to completion time, or if you are not going to take extension, apply for extension, if you get extension, fine, you can get it. And if contract applies for extension, then it's duty of engineer to make sure that extension is decided, is determined. It's fault of engineer. If you cannot determine that, it's not fault of contractor. If there are definite reasons and solid grounds on claims made for extension, AUT must be either reject it or determine it. Open route for arbitration or open route for DAB, or finally decide you are going to give it or not going to give it. Well, I've seen certain cases that sometimes works are delayed, but there are chances in 90% cases, or you say 60% of cases, as you think, if supervisors employed by contractors and if supervisors employed by engineers, they have determination, they have will, they keep an eye on contract conditions, they keep watch on all procedures that are required. There can be augmentation of strength of workers, there can be augmentation of working hours, or there can be reduced delays on material procurement, which is major cause of delay in fact, except if there are no force major events or unexpected events, or you can say there may be chances in majority of cases. And also it has been noticed that there are very many grounds for justifying extension of time due to various reasons. It depends on project, what project it is. Delays due to many reasons which are beyond control of contractor, sometimes also beyond control of employer. But those delays do not help. Otherwise, if contractor is strong, contractor has intelligent and brilliant and dynamic personnel, I don't think the problem lies in negligence. Sometimes documents are so many, voluminous, that those technical persons who are site oriented, they have no time or they are not interested in going through such voluminous documents study. And those who are responsible for such claims, they do not work at that time on sites. They do not know reality of sites, problems of sites. So a mix-up of various, you can say, absence of information. Sometimes, records are not traceable. Sometimes facts are not known. And sometimes, various conditions apply for delays. But if everybody is determined with support of engineer, I think delays can be recovered. Delays can be recovered. It's not big deal until there is design issue or there is some legal issue. There is issue the contractor or even employer cannot jointly handle. Otherwise, I think it's not a big deal. As an engineer, as a professional, I would not accept. It's your attention that should be concentrated, because even during process of arbitration or process of DAB, it's very difficult to justify what you claim for, because those people sitting in those procedures, they're not site oriented one. They were not available on sites, and writing is not available, records are not available, maybe hundreds and hundreds of mails which won't give you anything except confusion. And those people have no capacity to concentrate on those documents. If concentration can be done, it can be done by contracting personnel. If contractor doesn't employ such calibered person, there are always chances that escalation from such claims go away. डैमेजेस को क्लेम करना इतना आसान नहीं है, बहुत मुश्किल भी नहीं है। निर्भर करता है आप कितने जागरूक हैं, कॉन्ट्रैक्टर के आदमी, कॉन्ट्रैक्टर के अभियंता, कॉन्ट्रैक्टर के प्रबंधक कितने अच्छे हैं वो काम करने में। बातें करने से क्लेम नहीं मिलते, आप रिकॉर्ड करने में कितने तेज हैं, आप कॉन्ट्रैक्ट को कितना समझते हैं, कॉन्ट्रैक्ट को भी पढ़ा भी है कि आपने नहीं पढ़ा है, बहुत सी बातें। दस्तावेज जरूरी है, क्योंकि ये एक दो दिन का कॉन्ट्रैक्ट नहीं होता है, सालों वर्षों का कॉन्ट्रैक्ट है। सैकड़ों हजारों दस्तावेज होने चाहिए, और उसके लिए क्योंकि ज़्यादातर दस्तावेज हमारे टेक्निकल होते हैं, तकनीकी से लिंक रखते हैं, वो तो उनको समझ ही नहीं आएंगे जो आगे आपके प्रॉब्लम को सॉल्व करेंगे। साइट के बारे में हर कुछ राइटिंग में तो नहीं हो सकता, साइट पर इतनी प्रॉब्लम्स होती हैं, इतनी एक्टिविटीज़ होती हैं, इतने बड़े बड़े प्रोग्राम बनने के बाद भी कि ये सबमिट करना अपने आप में कि हमारी डिले आपकी वजह से हुई है, इतना आसान नहीं है। या आप डेली उस पर अपना ध्यान रखें, हर रोज़ इन्फॉर्मेशन दें राइटिंग में ऑफिशियली, तब कुछ बात बनती है। और उसके लिए आपको डेडिकेटेड स्टाफ या पर्सनल हाई लेवल के होने चाहिए जो कॉन्ट्रैक्ट को समझते हों, इम्प्लीकेशन को समझते हों। साइट वाले स्टाफ ये सब नहीं समझता, डिज़ाइन वाला स्टाफ ये सब नहीं समझता, प्लानिंग वाले भी पीछे रह जाते हैं। इसलिए एलडी की सॉल्यूशन है नहीं। एलडी का डाटा लगा देना, कितने % लेंगे, मुझे तो लगता है एक फॉर्मेलिटी है। कौन चाहेगा एलडी देना और कौन चाहेगा एलडी लेना, प्रश्न तो यह है। एलडी से तो पूरा किसी का पड़ने वाला नहीं, एम्प्लॉयर का कोई उससे नुकसान पूरा होने वाला नहीं, और कॉन्ट्रैक्टर का उससे कोई फ़ायदा नहीं होने वाला, क्योंकि कॉन्ट्रैक्ट पूरा करके देना ही हमारी जिम्मेदारी है। इसलिए एलडी के पीछे भागना ज़रूरी है, लेकिन सबसे ज़्यादा ज़रूरी है काम के पीछे भागना। हर काम कैसे ख़त्म किया जाए उसके पीछे रहना ज़्यादा ज़रूरी है। मटेरियल की प्रोक्योरमेंट देर करा देती है। प्रोक्योरमेंट ऑफ मटेरियल इज़ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट पार्ट इन दिस। उसमें बहुत ध्यान रखने की ज़रूरत है। मटेरियल्स का पूरा प्रोसीजर्स, शॉप ड्राइंग का, वर्किंग ड्राइंग का पूरा प्रोसीजर्स, कहाँ कहाँ टेक्निकल प्रॉब्लम्स हैं उनको रिजोल्यूशन का पूरा प्रोसीजर, जो भी काम करने के इम्पेडिमेंट्स हैं, रुकावट हैं, उसकी तरफ अटेंशन देना बहुत आवश्यक है। जिसके लिए आपको साइट पर, प्रोजेक्ट पर रिटेंशन चाहिए, पहले एम्प्लॉइज़ की, इंजीनियर्स की, मैनेजर्स की, जो रिटेंशन बहुत मुश्किल होती है, बहुत मुश्किल। और रिटेंशन हो भी जाए तो उनके अंदर वो विल होनी चाहिए कि हमको एक एक चीज़ का ध्यान रखना है। कुछ चीज़ें, ये सब चीज़ें आपको साइट पे दिखाई नहीं देंगी, अंदर ही अंदर काम चलते हैं जो लोग होते हैं, और उस पर ट्रैक पर चलना, समझना। ऑल डेज यू हैव टू वॉक ऑन दैट ट्रैक, where we are losing ground, we are gaining ground. There is no issue that two should have contest. I am not saying that. There is no question that contractors and engineers should have competition in this. There is no question of competition, but it is duty of both to keep interest of both parties in mind. Contractors' interest is that work be delivered according to requirement in time, and employer's interest is that work should operate in time by deliveries. Deliveries of contract must be made in time, and in a way it's required on contract, because this project has to start opening, has to start working in operational terms. Both are having commercial interest, promotional interest, and LD is very small part, very small element, but it is like, it's like a stern warning to both parties, particularly to contractor, that you shall face losses at least to this extent if you do not do complete work in time. If you do not complete work in time, you have to suffer this on this account. And that is really to some extent interesting one to encourage contractors, that you have to take your care or else you are going to suffer. Contract is difficult game as far as work is concerned. You cannot consider contract as domain of law, particularly construction contracts. Don't involve yourself in legal complications. I suggest that. Rather fight with technical requirements. fight to get resolutions, fight to let information come in time, fight to get drawings finalized as soon as possible. You have to fight for procurement of materials, you have to fight for procurement of personnel, and you have to fight for quality issues. Because if quality impacts upon, and it does very well. If you if you deliver bad quality work, to convert bad quality work to do good quality work is impossible. It is impossible. Only possibility in that case is remove that work and do it again. You may say you are talking of loss of money, loss of cost, loss of everything. Yes, you have losses. But it's not fault of employer. It's your fault as contractor. You were sleeping. You are paid for work and your payment is not helping. Your work is not sound. Then who is responsible? None else but you, contractor, because you thought work shall be done on itself. Contract is a difficult game, again I'm telling you. If it had been so easy, why would not that owner employ its own team for execution and work accordingly? Contracting is very difficult business, responsible business, risky business, because controlling is very difficult. Culture of various workforce are different. Output extraction from workers is very different, very difficult. Designs issues are very difficult. Procurement machines not easy. You can say likewise, if you want to do real projects, works, those people who are technical, who are engineers, they must have good exposure to such contracts prosecution. There may be many conditions which may support contractor, and there would be many such conditions that may not support contractor, they may support employer. So no problem, it should be equity based contracts conditions where justice be made to everyone. I can't say that it's pro contractor or pro employer contract. It should be a professional contract where orientation should be made on achievements and not on losses. Achievement is very important. That is called project works delivery. Interest is on delivery and not on payments or due to damages, which won't help. So we have to understand criticality of contract. This is called criticality of contract, that what we have to care for, what we are not taking for. Early times in contracts, when you take over site and you start working, those times are always very, very value oriented, and everyone thinks you have plenty of time, don't worry, we'll take care of that. In fact, that time at commencement of project always remains very interesting one, And generally, if you want to take lead of time gain, that is real stage. First 2 months, 3 months on every project, even before mobilization, homework can be started. But you know, contractors think otherwise. They think they waste time, they waste money if you mobilize early. They don't care. They think, oh, let other work will get people from there. Tendency is different. Oh, I have 3 more sites working. This site shall finish in 2 months or 3 months or 4 months, and we will direct people from there. This tendency leads to collapse of whole system. Because every day of contract is important. Not only on new project, on old projects also, which you are going to say finish in 2 months, 3 months. You are going to depend on those problematic projects which may have different problems. Either you hire more people instantly for new project. You have to save that time. If you can save those first mobilization time and some more time, you can gain enough time in future. But it does not happen. I've not seen that practically because people don't accept this. It looks in beginning, oh, it's 2 years project, no problem, we have plenty of time, why to worry about that, sit down, call me. And that's where I say health warning it is. You are going to destroy health of project time by stating this way. Be careful. This is dangerous. We have to be worried about that. It's very important part here, really speaking. We have to concern over this. So we have to be worried about that. That's actually the point. We have to take care of that. Means we have to take care of in the beginning. We have to gain time. If you cannot gain time, then it's a problem for us. That's a very important factor here. We have to be careful about this. And if you cannot do that, care of everything else, and that's where time lies lying in. and means now I think I took my time. Now close it. So already more than that. So thank you very much. I'll see you again.